So in 2015, 16, somewhere in there, I started doing these drawings of flowers and leaving them at the restaurant with the tip. We'd also tip because we're not cheap people. But I'd leave the drawing of the flowers with the tip for the gift to the server, and I would just sign them and leave him with it. And wherever we went, I would spend time. After gastric bypass surgery, it took me a long time to eat anything, and so I would eat as much as I could, and then I would sit out and draw because John takes a long time to eat anything, my husband. And he would sit down and eat, and I would sit and draw and kind of pick at my food because that's what I do. And I would leave the drawings with the tip. Well, at one point I was doing that in Red Robin, and I was drawing, and the manager walks by and says, "Are you drawing that?" I said, "Yes, I am." She goes, "Come with me." And I'm like, uh-oh, I'm in trouble. She took me in the back, and she took me to the manager's office. And she showed me, there was like 4, 5 drawings of roses up on the wall. And they were signed and dated, because I did that. Back then I would date them too. And one of them was dated like 2017. And she laughed and said, "These are the ones that the managers could get away from. They would leave the servers would leave them, or the servers wouldn't want them or whatever, and they would left them in the office and they would post them." And she was so excited to meet me, and she said, "I can't wait until we have a manager's meeting in a week or so, or a couple days or whatever." And she says, "I can't wait to tell them that I met the artist." I guess it was a sign. Didn't realize it was a sign, but there you go. I didn't know I was famous. So I started doing roses because of my mother. She, when I was a kid, she'd always, she had these beautiful rose bushes, and she cared for them all the time until my dad got chickens, and the chickens ate all the rose bushes, and she was very upset. But that was a point of, and when she passed away, we had a very difficult relationship. When she passed away, my uncle had called us and said, "Your mom's dying, and it's not okay that she's not going to talk to you before she dies, and you guys can get down here really quickly." So all of my brothers and sisters and things, except for my oldest sister, hopped in a car and took off and to California, where she had lived, and to see her when she passed. So roses always reminded me of my mom. And our relationship was difficult, but after she passed, our relationship changed. Because I'm a medium and I talk to my mother all the time, she kind of went through a process of like a 12-step program, is the way she related it to me, because that's what I understand, because I've been through the 12 steps, that she was kind of doing her 9th-step work, and she was making up for the garbage that she did to her family and to me by helping me through my own difficult times. So it was symbolic for me of my mother. So I started doing these roses and leaving them. I did people and things too, and draw the little kids that I was working with or whatever, and I still do that too. But roses are kind of my signature for these things. I call them now random acts of art. And I love it because when I give it to people, I say, "Here, I made you roses." And they smile for a minute. And I talk about that a lot, of our isolation and how random acts of art take a room full of people and open them up for a minute to out of their isolation and to make a connection with me or the people around them or whatever. So it's been a good point of connection. In 2020, when COVID hit, it was really difficult. I couldn't do flowers for anybody or whatever. It was very isolating for everybody, and everybody was sad. But my husband had a heart attack at the beginning of 21. And I just remember going to the hospital and how scared I was. And I drew a picture of him in the bed, and I made him flowers because I couldn't stay. At that time, you couldn't stay past visiting hours. And actually, I was lucky because I could actually be there in with him when he was having surgery and things, because that they had lightened up some of the restrictions. And I noticed when I was going in to visit him, there was a sign that said no deliveries, and that meant flowers and everything. And I went, I had drawn flowers for John so that he would remember when I left that I was still cared about him. And that's what flowers do. When people send flowers to somebody in the hospital, it's to remind them that they're being cared for at a distance, that somebody cares, and that they sent flowers. And I said, oh, it's terrible. All these people are in the hospital who may or may not have people able to visit them. At least the people who are there can't stay past the hours that were allowed. So I went home and I started drawing random acts of art. And I was thinking about this right before I left the hospital. I was going to go home and start doing this. I ran accidentally into the, what do you call those preachers at the hospital? Anyway, the chaplain, there it is. And the chaplain, I ran into the chaplain in the elevator, and I said, if I made these flowers for people, where would I send them? He goes, just bring them to my office and I'll distribute them. And I was in there and I had done flowers for the nurses, and I was very grateful that they were there because that was a really hard time for all the nurses and stuff. So I made sure that they had them when I was there. So I had this idea, and I remember I made a whole set of them. Like, I don't remember, 7, 8. I did like maybe 20 at that point, but I did like 7, 8 of them, and I put them in an envelope and I went and dropped them off. And the chaplain goes, wait, what? You actually did that? And I said, I did. So he said that he would be happy to distribute them, and if it's to patients or to doctors or anybody that needs a smile. And I had done that one time. My husband and I had gone to the Oregon coast for our anniversary, and we were in a bar getting dinner, and I was drawing people, and this lady came up, and I had given this drawing to her and of her, and she came over and said, what a talent, what a great thing that you're doing. And then she said, what I think it is that you're passing out smiles. Look at how everybody smiles when you give them one of these drawings. And I started to notice she was right. People smiled when they saw them, and I broke into their isolation for a minute, and I cheered them up for a minute. I made a real connection with them, and I gave them a smile. So every time we're out now, my husband always laughs and says, there you go, passing out smiles again. So, there, roses.